We're here with Kyle Schultz from Southern Energy Management. They are a third-party energy rater, right? Is that an accurate description?
That is.
Okay. And I met Kyle because a house that we built a while back we were struggling to cool the second story, and we're trying to figure out why. And as you guys came in, it was right in line with the time as we were trying to step up our approach to the building science aspects and walk through this house and walk through with thermal cameras and had different people look at it, did different manual J calculations to figure out why. And based off of those conversations, we started to change how we do all of our house from a energy efficiency and approach our building envelope. So talk a little bit about Southern Energy and what you guys do and what we're doing on this house in particular.
So like Bill mentioned, we're Southern Energy Management. We're the third-party home energy rater and solar partner, if his homeowners are interested in that.
Right.
And we basically help Bill provide a better product to the customers through building science practices, energy efficiency, comfort, and durability. So we do home energy ratings through a few different processes throughout the construction timeline. We come in at insulation inspection, and we inspect the air sealing, the thermal envelope, the mechanical systems, and making sure that everything is going to perform and test well when we come back again for our final inspection.
Right.
And at that point, we're going to be doing what's called a blower door test, which measures the air tightness of the home. And we also do a duct blaster test, and that measures the air tightness of your HVAC and heating and cooling system.
Right.
And from there, we use what's called the Ecotrope software that generates your home energy rating. And you can think of that as
that's your HERS score?
That's your HERS index score.
Okay.
So most people refer to that as the miles per gallon of the home. It kind of tells you how energy efficient your home is going to compare to other homes in the market.
Right.
So Roma Homes is on average 40 to 45% more efficient than a code-built home.
Perfect.
On Commonwealth, we came in at a HERS index of a 54.
54, excuse me.
And what that means is that home is 46% more efficient than code, and you can expect to save 46% on your energy cost.
Right. So obviously with this house, we're trying to go a step beyond that.
Right.
We won't know until the very end when we do our blower door scores and get the final data. But all along, that's part of what we were looking to achieve. So the next step here for you guys, you're going to come in and do basically an insulation inspection. The insulation inspection, what are the things that the guys coming through to do the inspection are typically looking for?
The few things that we're really looking for when we're doing our insulation inspections is, one, the quality of the install. How well is your insulation installed, and is it doing its job right? Is it going to keep heat and cold outside and keep the inside comfortable? So if we went up and looked at a wall cavity here, we have spray foam insulation. We're going to measure the depth and the R value in this wall assembly, and we're going to make sure that it's completely filling these cavities. There's no voids, compressions, or gaps, and that it's going to do its job well. So we go around the house and look at all the insulation, and we give it a grade 1, 2, or 3. And grade 1 means it's doing its job really well, and it's done right. So when you get to grade 2 and 3, that means it's a terrible insulation job, right? And there's gaps and voids, and you're gonna have an uncomfortable home.
Right.
So we wanna make sure that this home is achieving a grade 1 insulation. And by the looks of it, this house is spray foam, and it's done really well.
One of the things that I noticed with a regular bat insulation is typically what happens behind outlets like this. And it's hard with the bat insulation. Number one, when you do your inspections, when the guys come, is the foam, is the insulation behind the outlet. And that's one of the things that we were trying that we like about the spray foam is we know all of our little tiny penetration holes, that these things are getting properly sealed and insulated.
Okay, so we talked about our insulation inspections, which is step 1 in the HERS rating process. And we talked about the insulation and how important it is that it's a quality install. The second thing we're looking for is air sealing details. We want to make sure that this house is going to be airtight, more comfortable, and just better overall consistent temperatures for you, the home buyer. So when we're looking at air sealing, we're going to look at a few things. One of them is your bottom plate air seal. You can see that they ran a bead of caulk here at the bottom plate, and this allows the outside air to stay outside, right? We want to seal the bottom plate so when we come back at final, that air isn't leaking back into the home. Another big detail is foaming around your windows. Making sure that all this foam is sealing these penetrations in the building, and then no air leakage is coming in through these windows. And the same goes for the doors. Another thing is your top plate air seal. So they've ran a bead of caulk in between their two top plates, and that's another spot for leakage. And you can see this foam above the top plate is sealing your bands. So this is another big spot for leakage. And this spray foam insulation does a great job as a thermal barrier, but also an air barrier.
So the reason that it's a big spot for leakage is because it's in between, basically in between the floors, and the sheetrock is going to go up on the ceiling, and you obviously have your subfloor, which is the second floor flooring. So that's an area that is really getting a minimal amount of heating and cooling.
Right.
So it's very easy for that any sort of efficiency to happen in this space here, which is one of the reasons that we started moving towards insulation or foam in the bands for sure.
Another huge spot that's important is your garage band. This is a big area for air leakage, and what's more important is health and safety for the homeowner. So you can see this floor system here goes into the garage, and this band here they foamed, so that's going to be air sealed. And that's important for two reasons. One, because it's going to reduce the air leakage, and for two, it's not going to allow carbon monoxide and gas exhaust from your cars to enter the home.
Piggyback on Kyle's point, it's one of the reasons that we started doing spray foam here in the garage ceilings, especially where there is living space over the garage. All right, we're up here on the third story now, which represents part attic, part living space. And when we first met, like I was saying before, it was a house that we were struggling to heat and cool. And on the second story. And typically when a system is designed, for an HVAC system is designed, it's a 20-degree delta. It's going to take an average of 90 degrees in the summer and say we're going to try to accomplish 70 degrees inside the house. That's about as much as you're going to ask any sort of system to do. And that becomes much more difficult when it's 100 degrees, and then the attic is now 140 degrees. So that second story, or the closest story to the sun, in this case is our 2.5, that is going to be much more difficult. So that's one of the reasons that we started doing the spray foam in the attic.
Having the spray foam in the attic, what it does is it brings your heating and cooling system inside the thermal envelope. So what that does is it makes the whole system run more efficiently, and the temperature difference isn't going to be as big as, say, a fiberglass insulated attic. So when he's running hot or cold air through these ducts, the temperature isn't going to be 140 degrees in the attic. It's going to be more consistent with the inside air temperature of your living space. So there's less energy loss, and actually you can reduce the size of your HVAC system when you bring it inside the envelope. And not only that, but bringing your ducts inside the envelope is going to make your home just overall more energy efficient. It'll drop your HERS score 4 to 8 points on average.
Perfect.
So we talked about the insulation inspection, which is our first step in the HERS rating process. The second step is the final inspection. And when we come back close to when the home is finished and when you move in, we're going to run a few tests on the home. The first one is the blower door test, and this is going to measure the air tightness of the home. And since this is a spray foam house, it's going to be extremely airtight, have more consistent temperatures, and help you reduce your utility cost.
Here's a good picture that gives an idea of what the blower door test looks like.
The second test we do is the duct blaster test. And that's where we come in and we measure the air leakage in your HVAC systems.
This picture gives a pretty good idea of the duct blaster test in progress. Again, we are measuring whether or not the ducts are leaking.
And these two tests, the blower door and duct blaster test, we're going to ensure that they're meeting building code requirements and provide a more comfortable product for you as the homeowner.
For every house that gets built, you have to post an energy certificate. And that certificate can be done by a third party, like you guys, or that can be done by visual inspection of the builder.
Right.
So what that means is the builder walks around and goes, yeah, looks pretty good, signs a piece of paper, posts it up in the house, and that would satisfy code.
Right.
So as we're trying to go beyond code is why we do bring an official tester in who actually does the blower door and the duct leakage scores to determine whether or not we got a house that's airtight.
Right. This is a voluntary code measure, meaning he doesn't have to do a blower door to meet code requirements, but he chooses to exceed code and to make sure that his building envelope is tight. There's going to be less drafts and the home's going to be more comfortable. And what that means to you as the home buyer is you're going to be saving 50% on your electricity cost. You have lower utility bills. Your home's going to be more comfortable, and you have the peace of mind knowing that he's gone the extra mile to build to these standards and has a third party to validate for him.